From Washington, D.C., I'm Allister D'Souza. This is your roundup of the week's biggest stories shaping the United States and beyond. Welcome to Washington Watch.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple, can't get any simpler than that.
Trade war showdown. Trump goes fast and furious with tariffs as high as 50%. China retaliates, Trump saying he's open to striking deals with countries contradicting top White House aides who said tariffs are no bargaining tool. Wall Street tumbles further at the Friday open after a $3 trillion wipeout in the previous session.
TikTok is big, but every point in tariffs is worth more than TikTok. So in order to get China to do, maybe I'd give them a reduction in tariffs as an example. Sounds like something I'd do.
Tariffs as leverage in a TikTok deal. President Trump says China could get a breather from its tariffs, but that's only if Beijing approves the sale of the app. TikTok faces a ban in the US if it doesn't find a non-Chinese buyer by April 5th. Amazon and the founder of OnlyFans are possible suitors. The US jobs report way better than expected. March saw nearly 230,000 jobs added. Unemployment ticked up only slightly. Analysts warning that the pain is yet to come as they look ahead to April's jobs numbers that could see the impact of Trump's tariff moves. Battered Democrats taking comfort in the victory of a liberal judge. Susan Crawford won the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, defeating conservative Brad Schimmel. Schimmel was backed by Elon Musk, who pumped in over $20 million into the race. The result secures a 4-3 liberal majority in the swing state's Supreme Court. And this week, seeing high-profile hirings and firings. Director of the US spy agency, Timothy Hoare, is said to have been dismissed after claims by a far-right activist that Hoare was disloyal to the president. Meanwhile, controversial TV celebrity doctor and surgeon Dr. Oz has been confirmed by the Senate to lead Medicare and Medicaid, which comes under an agency that oversees the healthcare of millions of Americans. To the week's biggest story, President Donald Trump's salvo of fresh tariffs targeting over 185 countries across the globe, including US allies such as India, while the tariffs exempt essential and strategic items such as pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and energy products. It left US allies and foes in a fix. China has retaliated with 34% tariffs on US goods, and in Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney has hit back with 25% duties on certain US vehicles as US auto tariffs come into effect. I'm now joined by Rodrigo Balbonton. He is a former World Bank consultant and currently closely covers trade for a think tank here in Washington, D.C. Rodrigo, the world is moving towards a full-blown trade war. China has announced tariffs, like we mentioned, 34% on all US imports in retaliation. Who is the real loser, you would say here, the American consumer or the ones sitting in China, or for that matter, elsewhere in the world, in Chile, Canada, or India?
The world economy is the biggest loser. Probably the first loser is the American consumer. There are already signs of diminishing growth perspective, both from the world economy and the US economy. So who is the biggest loser? I don't know specifically, but the world economy in general, it's going to be smaller than it could be due to these tariffs.
All right, Rodrigo, what are your bets on the US slipping into a recession?
It's more likely than before, but it's not certain. So some expert has estimated the increase of likelihood of recession. For example, Goldman Sachs before the tariff announcement increased the likelihood to 1/3 or 35%. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a recession. It's more likely, but not necessarily that it's going to be a recession.
All right, now, after we heard from top Trump aides on how tariffs are not a bargaining tactic, President Trump says he could negotiate with countries. He cited China as an example. Basically, if China lets up on, say, selling TikTok to a US buyer, he could spare Beijing from those punishing tariffs. What are your expectations?
So the executive orders signed by President Trump on April 2nd have an entire section on how tariff can be modified, whether modified for more tariff or lowering the tariffs. So there is a room for negotiation for sure. And that's signed by the president in the executive order. That's section 4 that delegates the authority for reviewing these tariffs that are just announced. On top of that, and this is relevant for India, for example, there are some products that are under investigation, such as pharmaceuticals. So the fact that some products are exempt now, that doesn't mean that they could be tariffed to those products later.
Right, so if I understood you correctly here, you do expect Trump to negotiate, the US to negotiate one-on-one with all these countries, be it China, be it India, but certainly that's going to be a lot of work to have these unilateral deals with all these countries, or bilateral deals.
For sure. USTR, the trade authority, the United States Trade Representative, is not the biggest agency here in Washington. It's not small, but it's not. I don't think that they will have the capacity to negotiate different trade agreements with more than 100 countries. But what is for sure is that these tariffs, and this is also reflected by the market reaction. It's a reflection of a starting point of either escalation for more tariff or a negotiation to lower these tariffs that were announced, but definitely it's not the end point. So whether they have the capacity to negotiate one by one, or the tariff will be higher or lower than were announced, that's uncertain. But what is certain is there is room for negotiation at bilateral level from the United States with third parties.
All right, Rodrigo, President Trump hopes his tariffs will get the U.S. back to its heydays of manufacturing to the 70s. What would you say? Would the U.S. be able to see that in the next few years, given that setting up a factory, for example, sometimes would take decades really to get done?
Yes, I think there were some experience in the first Trump administration that were expecting that tariff will ensure some manufacturing. But for example, Caterpillar, to serve third markets, decided to open a plant elsewhere. So that's this tariff on the one hand doesn't necessarily ensure that manufacturing will be relocated to the United States. And that's only on the supply side, but also we need to take into account that on the demand side, the United States will be a smaller economy than it will be without this tariff. So there will be less consumption internally. So that also will affect basically local manufacturing production. So there is no certainty that this tariff will work to revamp manufacturing.
Right, this is a story that's going to be here for a while. You're going to be closely following it, as so are we. Thank you very much indeed for your time joining us here, Rodrigo. In other news, now Wall Street extending its tumble at the Friday open after a $3 trillion wipeout in the previous session, which had markets seeing their sharpest falls since the early days of COVID. However, gold hitting all-time highs this week as investors look for a safe place to park their money. At a neighborhood jewelry store in the state of Maryland, a similar gold rush as well. Gold prices have rallied nearly 20% since the start of the year. Geopolitical tensions like the war in Ukraine or Gaza for that matter, a big reason why prices have increased, but a big one, Trump's tariffs, that's stoking fears of a recession. A possible recession in the US, the world's largest economy, means more people flocking to gold, a safe haven asset. As far as demand goes, how much would you say demand has increased?
I would say at least 10 to 20% increase just in the last 3 months. We're getting a lot of first-time gold buyers, a lot of new customers. Obviously, we're breaking records with where the gold price is, and so people are becoming aware of that.
What are people saying to you when they come in?
There's a lot of uneasiness in this world, a lot more questions than answers, and I think when that happens, people are looking to diversify. If it's jewelry that you can wear that stores wealth, if it's gold bars, it's something that you can physically hold and you can trust what you can see. I think gold is very easy to purchase. You understand the value of it, the weight of it, and it's also very easy to sell.
Because of the tariffs, other things going on in the US, I would say it's a really good time to buy gold.
So the challenge is, like, I have money, I don't know where to invest it right now. Everything seems pretty risky. So I think gold is more of a secure investment. I invested in stock and Bitcoin, and I got beaten up pretty bad.
So you're going back to gold?
Yes.
Trump's tariffs have spared gold. The spot price of gold sitting today at around $3,100 roughly. But analysts at ANZ, for example, predicting that price could go up to $3,200 in the next 6 months. Some at the Bank of America saying the price could touch $3,500 in the next 2 years. We've seen the tariffs announced now. Are you anticipating more people coming to your store and demand increasing further?
I think as long as things remain as they are, it's volatile. I don't see the demand going down.
Gold, like any other investment, is not risk-free. Analysts say that yes, indeed, it is a safe haven, but prices can be volatile. What goes up will come down. In Rockville, Maryland, Allister D'Souza, NDTV. Let's get you more on how Trump may use TikTok as a potential bargaining tool. Trump has floated the idea of tariff cuts on China if Beijing agrees to approve the sale of TikTok here in the US amidst these trade tensions and a looming Saturday deadline for TikTok. Is a deal even possible for TikTok? This report by Disha Bakchi.
TikTok. With the looming ban hours away, time is running out for TikTok as the Saturday deadline could see the popular short video app being banned again. But that scenario seems unlikely, with President Trump expected to swoop in as a savior for the platform yet again. Amid a flurry of speculation about the possible buyers for the app, Trump has signaled that he could give China a reduction on tariffs if Beijing agreed to a TikTok deal.
Maybe I'll give them a little reduction in tariffs or something to get it done, because every point in tariff is worth more money than TikTok. If you think every point, tariff is a much bigger world and TikTok is big, but every point in tariffs is worth more than TikTok. So in order to get China to do, maybe I'd give them a reduction in tariffs as an example. Sounds like something I'd do.
So what are TikTok's options amid the looming deadline? While Trump cannot overturn the law banning TikTok, he could push the ban yet again to reach a deal through an executive order. Another scenario is that China pushes TikTok to close its operations in the US rather than agree to a deal. Trump is also reportedly looking at leasing the app's algorithm from Beijing-based owner ByteDance, wherein a new US entity led by software giant Oracle would own majority stake in the platform while ByteDance retains a minority stake. The final scenario is that a buyer is finalized, a deal that would require the Chinese government to give up core technology of the app, a condition that is unlikely to be met. The race to acquire TikTok is heating up. Amazon has submitted a last-minute bid, while a separate group led by OnlyFans founder Tim Stokely has also entered the competition. Software company Oracle is one of the front-runners in the race so far, but many others, including investment firm Blackstone, American YouTuber Mr. Beast, AI company Perplexity have also made a play. While top US officials remain concerned about TikTok's Chinese ties, Trump appears determined to preserve the platform with 170 million US users. Yet, the reality of settling the future of TikTok's US businesses will require much more than just a finalized deal. It would need to satisfy Trump, Chinese officials, and ByteDance, a condition that will be difficult to reach. Disha Bagchi for NDTV World.
Let's now turn to growing angst amongst H-1B student visa or even green card holders who are looking to travel overseas. The nagging worry, what if on their return they are denied entry into the United States? Recent reports of people being detained at airports and land borders, of people wondering about the do's and don'ts. Let's get a sense of what might be prudent and what might be overblown things that you perhaps shouldn't worry about. I'm joined by immigration attorney Niranjan Adhikari to help us get some clarity. Niranjan, thanks very much indeed for your time. Niranjan, first up, is it a good idea for H-1B visa holders, student visa holders, green card holders to carry fewer electronic devices on their re-entry, or even if they should be deleting photos or WhatsApp before they arrive in case immigration officials ask them to hand over their devices?
Right, Allister. Electronic devices, the government has authority to search your electronic devices at the port of entry. You can carry your electronic devices, but you should not have any content which kind of questions your purpose or intent to come to the United States. For example, if you're coming as a student, your sole purpose has to be here to study, right? So if you have any photo, any sort of video communications or audio communications or even WhatsApp messages, which can show otherwise, meaning you're coming here to work and whatnot, then that could be a problem. So therefore, you want to avoid that kind of content in electronic devices. There are some best practices some immigration attorneys have advised, which is to lock your phone because otherwise they can do sort of remote access to a device. So lock your phone, turn off the devices at the port of entry. If they ask you to hand over, you can do that. It's just that you don't want to contain any sort of questionable material in your device.
But they can ask you to turn your phone on, right?
Right, at the time, yeah, if they're inspecting.
All right. Okay, now lots to get through here, so I'm going to move on to the next one. What sort of questions should non-citizens be prepared to answer at the airport when they arrive from a trip from overseas?
Typically, the immigration officers at the port of entry will ask your purpose of visit, your duration of your visit, how you're going to fund your stay, and where you're going to be staying at, where you're going to be visiting if you're coming as a visitor. For a student, obviously, they will be asking about where you're going to be residing at on campus or off campus. If you have an address already, you can provide that. They may ask you a question about your study, what program you're studying, what university, what your start date is. So you should be prepared to answer those questions. For any returning resident, if they have been outside for longer period, they should be able to explain if they have been outside for family visit or if they had any sort of medical emergency would let them to extend their stay beyond 180 days, then they should be able to explain it. But if they have been outside for 1 year or longer.
Let's say that they haven't been away for over a year or 6 months. We would generally need that re-entry permit. But what if someone is just want to play it safe? For example, a green card holder that's just gone away for maybe 1 or 2 months. Should they play it safe, like I said, and get that re-entry permit so that they get this hassle-free walk through right into the United States without getting into any kind of trouble with immigration authorities?
Right. It's not necessary. If a green card holder has been only outside the U.S. for 6 months or more, but less than 1 year, you don't need a resident permit. The same green card can be used for entry into the United States, but you'll be considered seeking an admission. Unlike when you enter within 180 days, then you'll be considered as a maintaining a legal permanent resident. But if you have been outside for more than 180 days, but less than 1 year, the same green card can be used to return to the United States. But you should be prepared to answer questions regarding your permanent residency, how you are maintaining your permanent residency, for example.
All right, very quickly, running out of time here, Niranjan, but I really want to get to this last one because how much does the port of entry matter? There is some suggestion on immigration forums that picking an airport in a blue state like California might be a safer bet.
Actually, there is no such, guidance I would provide. The reason is that I read CBP recent notices. Actually, they deported number of people in New York, for example, and they have deported number of people in different other port of entry. It's not a blue or a red states, but rather, I guess, you should be prepared. I think there are some approaches. I guess some port of entry are more experienced with dealing with the immigrants versus others, so they are more prepared. They can ask the right kind of question, but you should not be fearful about what airport to choose and things like that.
Thanks very much, Niranjan, for joining us here this morning. Now, despite flexing his financial muscles, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, did not get his wish. In the swing state, a key one, that's Wisconsin, a candidate that Musk supported has lost. All of this taking place amid reports that Musk might quit Doge. So what's the future of the Trump-Musk Bonhomie? Disha Bakshi takes a closer look.
After months of living on a high, the Republican Party has faced its first political setback in key state Wisconsin, as Democratic-backed Judge Susan Crawford beat conservative rival Brad Schimmel in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, the most expensive judicial election in United States history. The loss hit Trump loyalist Elon Musk particularly hard. The Tesla chief sunk $21 million into flipping the Wisconsin apex court to Republican control, only to see his candidate defeated by 10 percentage points. Musk shot the state judicial race into national view, claiming that it would decide the trajectory of not only the United States, but perhaps all of Western civilization and the future of the world. Yet it seems Musk's money muscle failed Republicans, instead pushing Democrat turnout. Liberal Judge Susan Crawford used Musk's involvement to her advantage, making the race about the voters versus the billionaire who she said was trying to buy election after election. The Wisconsin race was a litmus test for Musk and his slashing of the federal government, with the billionaire even traveling to Wisconsin 2 days before the polls to personally hand over $1 million checks to 2 voters. Yet the loss signals a warning for Republicans that Musk's growing unfavorability with the public could be a liability in the midterm polls next year. Despite the defeat and growing anger among Republicans, US President Donald Trump has no intention of cutting ties with the world's richest man, even though he has also foreshadowed Musk's departure in the past 2 weeks.
He is. He's amazing. No, I mean, as long as he'd like, I like smart people, and he's a smart person. I also like him personally. I would say Elon will stay for a certain period of time, and then he's going to want to get back to his businesses full time.
For now, the fate of the Trump-Musk Bonhomie hangs in balance. With Disha Bakshi, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
And before we wrap up, time for just one last story. My bad, says Barack Obama after the former president photobombed a family taking pictures of DC's beloved cherry blossoms. The family was busy framing their shot when a familiar face accidentally walked into the background. Addressing the kids in the picture, Obama wrote a comment saying, "Preston and Belle, I hope you enjoyed peak bloom. My bad for stepping into the shot." Now, DC's cherry blossoms attract visitors from near and far each year. Here's more of what I found when I took my camera to capture the cherry trees. No Obama sightings, but it was worth the trip. A true sense of awe, nature's beauty on full display. DC's famed cherry blossoms are a yearly spectacle, usually coming to peak bloom in the last week of March and the first week of April. Over 1 million visitors come here to enjoy these stunning beauties.
I'm from Delhi and I like cherry blossom. It's really pretty. I'm especially come for that.
Oh, for me, cherry blossom has always been the favorite tree for me. It reminds me of the resurrection, the serenity and peace and calm for me.
So the first cherry trees were gifted by Japan to the United States as a symbol of friendship. This plaque here telling you when it all happened. The first cherry trees, March 27th, 1912. The nearly 4,000 trees that you see here today around DC's many landmarks are an offspring of those originals.
I'm from Pennsylvania, and we have my nephew and my niece there from North Carolina.
You know, it's like it comes once in a while, right? So it's worth seeing it. Like, we don't have it in NC, so I think it's beautiful. I like it.
They are so nice. This is like the only place you can see them.
I've been here previously for the cherry blossom. It's very beautiful.
But worth making a trip over and over again?
Yes, definitely. I would definitely say come over again, yeah.
And here's one tip for all you visitors. Don't pluck the flowers, don't break the branches, don't climb on the trees because it's an offense and could land you in trouble. For NDTV in Washington, D.C., Allister D'Souza.